Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching. Tonight, we'll tell you about a disturbing assault in the downtown core. Plus, the Windsor salt strike is dragging on and it's got workers feeling the pinch. A look at how a new machine at the hospital is helping families stay together during trying times. And we've got a long stretch of heat ahead. We'll take a look at the pleasures and the risks involved. Tonight, police are searching for 4 suspects related to a weekend attack that left a man in critical condition. Officials say 5 suspects were involved. 1 has been arrested and charged with aggravated assault. The incident took place downtown, and that is where we find the CBC's TJ Deer right now. TJ, talk us through what happened.
Well, Kat, police say that on Saturday morning, shortly after 3 a.m., 2 groups of individuals got into a fight at this intersection here, which is Chatham and Pallisher. After that, the suspects chased a 26-year-old male victim at this intersection here, which is University and Pallisher. Police actually released CCTV footage of the incident that happened here outside the Capitol Theatre. Just a warning, though, it does show graphic content. Now, the video shows the suspects chasing the victim here, where he was picked up by one person, slammed into the ground, and repeatedly kicked and punched by a group of people there. The video goes on to show the attack continuing after the victim is lying on the ground motionless. Police say the victim was taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries, where he remains in critical condition. 1 man has been arrested and charged with aggravated assault. 4 remaining suspects are wanted for aggravated assaults. Their descriptions are on the Windsor Police website. Police say they're also in touch with the victim's family, who are understandably worried.
Obviously, they have a family member that's in critical condition. They know how callous this incident was. They know that their family member was victimized. You've seen the video, so you can see how serious it is. So they're definitely concerned.
TJ, what more did you hear from police on this?
Well, police say they believe the incident was a targeted attack, but that the motives of the suspects remains unclear. They also say that witnesses that were featured in the video may have taken footage of the incident that happened here on Saturday morning, and police are urging any witnesses of the incident to come forward with any footage or information they may have. Police say they're also issuing a message to the suspects.
We will get information, and family, friends, they will call on you. They will turn you in. So the best thing that you could do if you're one of these individuals is to call the major crime office, call your lawyer, and turn yourself in.
Now, Staff Sergeant Tennant did say that this was a good example of community outreach, saying that police received multiple videos of the incident here. Now, he also said that police are hoping to expand their CCTV surveillance and presence throughout the downtown core, saying that the pilot project that's in place on Chatham Street, they hope that it expands throughout the rest of the downtown area. Kat?
Thanks for this, TJ. That's CBC's TJ Deer live downtown tonight. It is day 103 of the strike at Windsor Salt. Now, while it's not the longest strike in the salt mine's history, it is having an impact on the workers and, as Del Molnar reports, the Port of Windsor as well.
Workers at the salt mine are now in their 4th month on the picket line. They were making what they say was good money, and now they are getting by on $300 a week strike pay. It means there have been some sacrifices.
Had to cut back on a lot of things. I've had to sell some of my stuff, and we've had to reconsider a lot of plans we've had, and renovations on the house and things we'd like to do. We have to change our mind. I've had to defer payments and make a lot of big changes I wasn't expecting to have to do.
But I know stories of people with solo incomes that are putting mortgages on hold, right? Doing what they can, working if they have to, right? You got to make ends meet.
The president of the union local representing clerical staff says the community has come out to support the workers.
Unemployed Help Center has done a food donation where we put together packages for members that might need it. We've had donations from numerous local and different unions within the city. Across Canada, they're sending in donations to help with the line and help people with grocery cards and stuff like that. We've had Ontario Regional Council for Unifor. They donated $50 to every member for groceries.
But the strike is also affecting the Port of Windsor. The salt mine ships 2 million tons of salt through the port every year. That represents 40% of the port's business.
This is significant volumes, an important customer to the Port of Windsor. It's significant revenues to us.
Salmons says the shipping companies will just find other commodities to ship, but he says because of that, they may be too busy to ship the salt once the strike is over.
But at some point, if the strike gets too late in the year, it may not be possible to find sufficient shipping to deliver the salt that communities around the Great Lakes are going to need and want for winter control.
As much of an impact the strike is having on the port, Salmon says the impact is harder on the workers and wants to see them get a good deal and get back to work. But the union says the company won't meet face-to-face and is only talking remotely through its lawyer.
Things are not going as quick as we would like, and we hope that changes, because we know that our membership, they want to get back to work. They want a deal, they want a respectable deal, and that's all we're asking for.
So far, there's no end in sight. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
There's a new endoscopic ultrasound machine available at Windsor Regional Hospital. For one local man, it allowed him to stay here with his terminally ill wife and not be forced to travel to London.
I had the procedure done. I had a lesion on my esophagus, and he went in to check, and I think he was just doing a biopsy, but he was able to remove it. But it was like just a real pain in the arse. I was unable to swallow food. It was the size of a quarter.
That lesion was found on the 62-year-old's esophagus. It ended up being benign and was eventually removed. The machine uses a high-frequency ultrasound probe with an endoscopy to examine things such as the pancreas and rectum. It also helps manage gastrointestinal cancers and prevent some patients from having major surgery for tissue biopsies. Windsor Regional first started using this machine back in February, and before that, wait times for the same machine in London were sometimes longer than a year. Since Windsor Regional triages based on urgency, the wait here could be just weeks or months. The Ford government's plan to allow more housing to be built on farmland is meeting some stiff opposition from farmers. And as CBC News reported first, the blowback is prompting the government to consider backing down. Our senior reporter Mike Crawley has the story.
As warm weather hits southern Ontario, here at Twin Erin Farms, it's time to spray the soybean crop. Zach Cahoon's farm is near Port Perry, a 90-minute drive from downtown Toronto. He farms around 700 hectares. You could fit 1,000 football fields on that and still have room to spare.
This is my domain. I live in the middle of a 250-acre field, and I would have it no other way.
Ontario is currently losing farmland at such a rate that 1/4 of what's left is on track to disappear in just 25 years. With the Ford government targeting 1.5 million new homes in the next decade, Zach Cahoon fears it could happen even faster.
Destroying some of the best farmland in Ontario and Canada for housing.
The Ford government wants to change Ontario's land use rules to allow up to 3 new housing lots on any parcel of agricultural land in the province. All across Ontario, farmers are calling it a bad idea.
Because it will never be farmland again once there's a house on it.
Mark Reeser is a turkey farmer on land about 10 minutes from the western edge of Kitchener.
Farmers, like everyone, recognize that there's a need to find places for people to live. But perhaps it shouldn't be on farmland. It should be somewhere else.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me when we have urban centers that are well serviced.
Premier? Doug Ford says the intent of the plan is so that farmers can build homes for their families.
But the number one complaint that I get when I go to the farms, I want my kids to stay on the farm, and there is certain jurisdictions that won't allow you to build an additional residence.
But farming groups say the plan opens the door to much more housing than that. They say Ontario has plenty of space to build the homes it needs without sacrificing prime agricultural land.
We're going to come up with a happy compromise and work with the farmers.
Although Ford's housing minister isn't promising to scrap the original plan, he's now telling farmers he'll consider alternatives. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Scugog Township.
To national news now. The NDP has introduced an opposition motion to remove David Johnston as the government's special rapporteur on foreign interference over perceived bias. This comes after Johnston recommended Ottawa not hold a public inquiry on the matter, but instead hold public hearings. As Rafi Bujikanian reports, the federal government is digging in its heels for now.
The appearance of bias is so strong that the special rapporteur can no longer continue to do his work.
Until today, it was other opposition parties' accusations about David Johnston Justin Trudeau fended off.
David Johnston is an eminent Canadian who has served this government and this country for decades.
The Prime Minister knows that the appearance of bias is so strong in this case that Mr. Johnston cannot continue to do his work.
Last week, Johnston recommended against the public inquiry into allegations of foreign interference in Canadian elections, something all opposition parties want to see. Now the NDP says there are just too many questions about Johnston's ties to the Prime Minister for him to stay.
Their appointed rapporteur, David Johnston, does not have the confidence of this House.
The opposition Conservatives never showed any faith in the process laid out by the Liberals, today urging the NDP to go further than the motion to oust Johnston.
We call on the NDP to set a condition that if there is no public inquiry, that the NDP will break the coalition and stand up for Canada and Canadians for once.
Pierre Poilievre is also refusing a recommendation by Johnston to read the same classified documents he did to reach his own conclusions, saying he'd then be unable to speak about what they say. This, though his predecessor explained he received his own briefing by Canada's spy agency over alleged meddling by China during his time as Conservative leader, insisting he can't go into detail, but he can speak.
Each of these threats were intended to discredit me, promote false narratives about my policies, and to severely obstruct my work as a member of Parliament and as leader of the official opposition.
Ultimately, Aaron O'Toole wants a parliamentary committee to investigate these threats. As for the NDP, their motion goes to a vote tomorrow. For now, Jagmeet Singh says he'd rather his party still have the leverage to pass legislation that matters to them about dental or pharmacare rather than push for an election. Rafi Bujikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
In international news, Russia says Ukraine launched a drone attack on Moscow early this morning. The Kremlin says its air defenses destroyed all 8 drones, which it says were aimed at civilian targets. Ukraine denies it was directly involved, though officials there said they were pleased to watch. Margaret Evans reports.
The day the war laid its hand, albeit lightly, on the Russian capital. An apparent multiple drone attack, the impact and flight of some caught on the mobile phones of astonished Muscovites. Russia's defense ministry accused Ukraine of launching 8 attack drones at Moscow, saying 5 had been shot down, 3 others knocked off course. In a place where the narrative of Russia's invasion of Ukraine is carefully controlled, it was clearly a shock to residents. I fear for my life and the lives of my loved ones, says this woman. Things are not as calm and stable as we've been told. Ukraine has denied any involvement, but the Russian President Vladimir Putin accused Kyiv of seeking revenge for what he said were recent Russian attacks on Ukrainian command centers. He called it terrorism. The Kyiv regime has chosen the path of trying to scare Russia, he said, scaring the people of Russia and carrying out strikes against residential buildings. There was no mention, little surprise, of the 15 months of fear and bloodshed Russia has inflicted on Ukrainians. Kyiv has endured 17 drone and missile attacks this month alone. Ukrainian officials say Russia launched 31 drone attacks on Ukraine overnight, most aimed at Kyiv.
Russians want to bring depression to our people. Instead, depression, people very angry.
Washington has reiterated its position that it doesn't support attacks on targets inside Russia. Britain's foreign secretary gave a different take.
Legitimate military targets beyond its own border are part of Ukraine's self-defense. And we should recognize that.
But he wouldn't speculate on whether Ukraine was behind the Moscow attacks. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
Back to local news now. City Council has agreed on a design for its Civic Esplanade project, and it carries with it a price tag of between $30 million and $35 million. It's a sweeping redesign that stretches from Windsor City Hall to the Detroit River. After lengthy debate last night, councillors endorsed one of 3 proposals dubbed Light the Path. It includes interwoven pedestrian walkways, 2 large gathering areas, an ice rink, and a splash pad. It also includes food trucks and pop-up vendors at Charles Clark Square and outdoor classrooms. Ward 1 Councillor Fred Francis was the only one to vote against the project. He previously told CBC News that he wants to explore better ways to spend that money, saying the Esplanade is not a pressing investment at this time. After volunteers spent nearly 5,000 hours restoring the Windsor Lancaster bomber aircraft, it now needs a place to land. The Second World War era bomber is looking for a new home, and the city wants ideas from residents about where that should be. The plane is one of only 17 left in the world. 2 of the remaining Lancasters are flight-worthy, and another 5 are in wreckage condition at the sites where they crashed. Right now, the Canadian Aviation Museum is caring for the plane. Officials there think it should be located indoors inside a new hangar of its own, or have the plane stay inside the museum's current hangar. Residents can have a say about its location by filling out a survey on the city's website, and that will be open June 7th through June 28th. A recent St. Clair College graduate will be a part of a city team to landscape and beautify the park around Mackenzie Hall in the West End.
For here, I'm just the groundskeeper, so I'll be taking. Here at Mackenzie Hall? Yeah, here at Mackenzie Hall. So I'll just be, replanting some things in the gardens, cleaning things up, establishing new plantings. Yeah.
It's part of a $5,000 scholarship provided by the Windsor Port Authority in partnership with the Friends of the Court. He will be improving the Mary E. Bibb Park in the West End. The president of the Port Authority says it's time for the park to be rehabilitated after Mackenzie Hall was refurbished 2 years ago. A live look outside there. The heat is officially upon us. Another beautiful day today, but with these conditions that many of us enjoy, also come some risks. Colette Kennedy will join us after the break to talk us through it. We're at the start of a hot streak here in our region. Sunny skies and 30-degree temperatures expected over the next week. Not a drop of rain in sight. Tomorrow, we'll take a look at how all this dry weather is affecting farmers. But first, let's see how people are enjoying these summer-like conditions. Our Mike Evans hit the streets to find out.
The park is kept so beautifully. The flowers, the grass, the grounds. Amazing job. I just love how our tax dollars are looking after this place. I have my grand dog here, my daughter and son-in-law's dog, and we've come out for a walk on the beautiful riverfront. His name is Maverick. He is named from Top Gun, and he loves going for walks. He loves birds especially.
Just down fishing, enjoying this beautiful day on our beautiful riverfront.
You got a chair, you got your rod, you got a radio. It looks like you really are making the most of this.
Yeah, that's all I need right now. Yeah, and at Tim Hortons, I'm good to go.
Do you come down here often?
Twice a week I try to get down here when it's sunny out.
On and off when it's cool, I still get out and do my hikes, but during it's nice like this, get out and do some cycling.
It's not too hot for you?
Not along the river, no. There's a nice breeze. Beautiful.
Have you been seeing a lot of other people out here enjoying the weather?
There's been quite a number of people running, cycling, everything.
Well, I walk all year round, and I'm just taking advantage of this beautiful weather. I do a 5-mile walk every day. By walking, your blood flow is going all the time. It's better for your overall health. Beautiful on the river. It may be warm elsewhere, but it's beautiful here because we get a breeze off the water.
I'm roller skating.
Not too many people are roller skating downtown. You're the first one that I've seen. How are you enjoying roller skating so far?
Oh, I'm loving it. I just like putting my earbuds in and just going and listening to the tunes, enjoy the weather, and not a care in the world.
Colette Kennedy, it is so nice to see people enjoying this weather, but it's also important to note that there are serious implications with these conditions. So talk us through that.
Yeah, because here we are day after day after day of dry conditions. You know, she was talking about the tax dollars taking care of things, and it takes a lot to keep things watered and green and looking after our gardens and all of us. And as we're seeing this carrying on and we're stuck in this pattern, we are seeing the fire danger index going up in many areas. The red areas are where it is extreme, but you see there are a few pockets into southwestern Ontario where there's some red showing up on the graphic there. And really, it's an index. So it looks at 3 different things, essentially. They're kind of looking at how quickly or easily could the vegetation ignite, how difficult would it be to contain, and then also how much damage would be done. So taking that index, and then they set this. So we'll just be watching this situation really, really carefully as we keep going on without a soaking rain in our near future. Current temperatures, 30 degrees, yes, in Windsor, but Kapuskasing at 31, and Sarnia was at 31 degrees. Even Kapuskasing was up to 32 around Timmins, similar. So real heat there where the warning areas are. Seeing a little bit of moisture trying to creep into northwestern Ontario. Unfortunately, it comes with all these lightning strikes, which also then can spark other forest fires. And you see how dry the conditions are. Really smart to go by the river and get that breeze and to enjoy that. Anything to mix the air, because in a pattern like this, the air becomes quite stagnant and we aren't seeing a lot of mixing, and so an air quality statement has been issued, and that's mostly for tonight as we're seeing it around 7, so that gets above the moderate level. But we could take a look at the forecast for tomorrow, and I do see some improvement back down to 5 for the air quality health index and how much pollution is in the air, how difficult it might be to breathe. And our UV index, well, with all the sun, very high again. Not only do you need the sunscreen, you know, you need to check, make sure it's not expired if you're just pulling it out kind of from last year. So the outlook really doesn't bring any significant chances of rain our way. I mean, we have a little bit of a front that goes through that's dry, and that's maybe going to bring the temperatures down a few degrees into the weekend, so could have an isolated sprinkle along that. It's really into next week before I see a decent chance for us to get some rain coming back. The readings overnight tonight, still pretty comfortable. The humidity is not oppressive, and we'll see it building just a little bit as we see the temperatures building over the next few days before things are going to start to change a little next week.
Thanks so much for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
When we come back, another warning about artificial intelligence. That's coming right up. A new warning today about artificial intelligence. It comes in the form of a statement from scientists and tech industry leaders, including executives at Microsoft and Google. It says mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. Worries about artificial intelligence systems outsmarting humans and running wild have intensified lately. That's because there's a new generation of highly capable AI chatbots such as ChatGPT. And before we leave you, a very rare sighting in China recently. A surveillance camera recorded the movement of an all-white giant panda. It's thought to be an albino, the only one of its kind in the world. The panda can be seen on a nature reserve going about its business and interacting with friends and acquaintances, including a mother and her cub. Researchers believe the panda is around 5 or 6 years old, and it was first spotted more than 4 years ago. And that is it for CBC Windsor News. For more, go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor, or check out Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching and have a great night.